day 51 of the legislative session. That's 9 more days to go before the 60-day session is over. And it's a race right now for Democrats to get their income tax bill over the finish line, Senate Bill 6346. The version that came out of the House committee last week is quite a bit different than the version that cleared the Senate. You may recall the full Senate has already passed out the income tax bill, or the millionaire's tax, as supporters refer to it. But the House has yet to bring it up on the full floor. I am told that today, being Tuesday, is not going to be the day that the House brings it up on the floor. Of course, Democrats are in charge of what gets pulled off the calendar onto the floor. So it could still happen. We're certainly watching that. Today, Democrats held a press conference with their progressive groups lobbying to press for the tax to fund education, healthcare, tax breaks for families. And we also had Republicans addressing this in their media avail. So we're going to get into that. So now to where things stand on the income tax, the millionaire's tax, Senate Bill 6346. Not expected to come to the House for a floor vote today, but anything can happen. Remember, it has already passed the full Senate. And the House Finance Committee, when it brought it up and execed it out of committee last week, made some amendments. So the Democrats are going to have to hash all of that out. It did come up in this morning's Republican leadership media availability, and Representative Connors of Conowick, she's a realtor, and she's been really trying to hammer the fact that she thinks, businesses will flee. There's a capital flight's a real thing. And she brought up the Association of Washington Business and a recent poll they put out that said about 50% of all businesses in this state are considering leaving even before this tax goes into effect. Because remember, if it is passed this session and signed into law by Governor Ferguson, there will be almost immediate legal challenges. There are constitutional issues, according to opponents, and it's likely to be tied up in the courts for some time. And even if there were no challenges, it's not going to be going into effect until 2029. So plenty of time for businesses to, pull up stakes and relocate if this is something that they want to avoid. Senator Chris Gildon of Puyallup, who's budget lead for the Senate, he noted the contradiction between majority members who are pushing the income tax, but at the same time are undoing some taxes they just raised last year. Here's that comment from Senator Gildon.
One of the interesting things to me about this is the logical inconsistency of implementing an income tax and saying it's not going to have an effect on capital flight and people leaving our state, while at the same time lowering the threshold for the estate tax and explicitly acknowledging that it's going to have an effect of people leaving our state. I don't know how you can push both of those ideas at the same time in an intellectually consistent manner.
And I also asked State GOP Chairman Jim Walsh about the income tax fight. Where is everything right now? He told me there are wide differences between the two versions of the income tax moving at this point. He thinks both are bad, but he says the Democrats are kind of infighting right now to see, what's going to hold up, what additional amendments might come up, and how to reconcile all that to keep this thing alive. So here's part of that conversation with Representative Walsh.
The language that gave a preferable B&O tax status and some other preferable tax statuses to certain industry groups, primarily big tech, but some other big business interests, were stripped out. Those groups who might have been neutral or even slightly positive on the state income tax scheme now are against it, as they should be, and they should have been all along, frankly. If the governor and his minions want a state income tax, they need to run a state constitutional amendment. And one of their members on the Democrat side actually offered the state constitutional amendment, which I wouldn't agree with, but procedurally it's the right way to go. And I don't know, that may be getting a little bit of traction, but I don't think it's getting very much a traction over on the Democrat side. But right now, all the negotiation, all the panic, all the neurosis, that's amongst the Democrats. the hardcore supporters of the governor versus the less hardcore supporters of the governor are all trying to figure out how to put some more lipstick on this pig and make it less horrible.
He brought up the fact that maybe because the B&O tax hike phase out year earlier, which was in the Senate version, was yanked out when it went through the House Committee on Finance. And that may explain why we've had some other members from the business community and big tech specifically coming out just in the last couple of days. My colleague TJ Martinell put up an article on our page at the Center Square Washington's page on Monday talking about this letter that this group of folks, I'm trying to read who these tech sector company leaders are. Allen Institute founding CEO, the Read AI CEO, co-founder David Shim, founder and former VP for AI at Microsoft, Salesforce software engineering. All these folks sent this letter to Governor Ferguson saying, don't do this, Bob. Do not do this income tax. It's going to kill business. It's going to kill innovation in the state of Washington. And so we're going to see if that has any effect on where the governor is positioned. Also, found out in that GOP, I almost forgot, found out in that GOP avail this morning that Senator Braun and Representative Drew Stokesbury of the House leadership on the House side are meeting today with Governor Ferguson. They said this is the first time that they've sat down with him in more than 2 weeks. They expect to be talking about the income tax, of course, and where the governor is, because he's been pushing back on the different versions that have come out on this, saying there's not enough tax relief. I want more tax relief in on the income tax bill. Otherwise, I won't sign it. Senator Braun said he also hopes they will get a chance to talk about somehow reprioritizing juvenile rehabilitation. Remember all the issues in the last couple of years with the Green Hill School in Chehalis, and that's Braun's district. They've had massive population, explosion there. You've got some maximum security folks in with, lower level offenders, not a lot of therapy and education that's going on like it's supposed to be because they're simply overwhelmed at this point. He was really hoping that bill, a bill offered this session would move through. It's dead right now. Maybe the governor can somehow get it resurrected. Braun's going to push on that. And then he said he expects also to have some discussion about tort reform, which is dead for the session, large payouts from the Department of Children, Youth, and Families for children that have been harmed, many cases killed when left with drug-addicted parents. And of course, we have not had legislation moving forward to do anything about that imminent harm standard this session. So those were some of the other topics that the leadership hoped to have in conversation with Governor Ferguson today. So we hope to get an update for you tomorrow on how that conversation went, maybe some insight as to where the governor is right now on the income tax. So that's a wrap for day 51 of the session, the Tuesday episode of Washington in Focus Daily. Really appreciate you watching, and I hope you'll tune in again tomorrow. In the meantime, check out our Center Square Washington page for articles, not just that I've put up, but my colleagues here on the rest of our Washington state team. And again, I thank you for watching. Have a great day.